Have you ever finished a full day of work, sat down on the couch at 8 p.m., opened your phone just for a minute, and looked up at midnight? Maybe you told yourself you'd study tonight. Maybe you had a business idea saved in your notes app for 2 years. Maybe you keep saying, "I'm too tired today, tomorrow." And every other Friday, direct deposit hits, and you feel safe for about 3 days. Then rent, groceries, the car payment, the student loan, the credit card minimum, and you're counting down to the next paycheck again. Here's the truth nobody tells you. You are not poor because you work too little. You are poor because you give the best 8 hours of your day to someone else and give the leftovers to your own future. This is the story of a man who lost 6 years inside that comfortable trap, until one phone call at 8:41 p.m. on his 30th birthday showed him what those wasted evenings were actually costing. His name was Daniel. Stay with me until the end, because the 90 minutes he found are sitting in your night too. Daniel was 30 years old, and he worked in human resources on the 14th floor of a glass tower in downtown Columbus, Ohio. His job was to build other people's careers. He wrote the job postings, he screened the resumes, he ran the salary bands and calculated everybody's raise. 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. Daniel designed futures for everyone except himself. He made $52,000 a year. In America, that is not poverty. That is the thing that's harder to escape than poverty, because nobody around you thinks anything is wrong. That was just enough. His days were identical, and he could have recited them in his sleep. Alarm at 6:40. 40 minutes on I-70, with the brake lights and the same 3 radio ads. 9 hours under fluorescent light. Home by 6:30, with a bag from a drive-thru on the passenger seat. And then the part that mattered most, the part he never thought about at all. Dinner in front of the TV. Netflix auto-playing into the next episode. Phone in his hand. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Bed at midnight. Repeat. He owned 5 dress shirts, a badge on a lanyard, a 2009 Civic with 190,000 miles on it, and a life that had not moved 1 inch in 6 years. Daniel's greatest fear was never getting laid off. It was something quieter than that. It was the 24-year-old 2 cubicles down who got promoted past him in 11 months. It was the guy from his graduating class who opened a garage door business and posted a photo of the keys to his first shop. It was his annual review, exceeds expectations, and a 3% raise. In a year, his rent went up 9. It was $11,400, spread across 3 credit cards at 24.99%, and a student loan he'd been paying for 8 years that had barely moved. He had ideas. Every few months he'd search how to make extra money at 11 p.m., watch one video, feel electric for 20 minutes, and fall asleep with the phone on his chest. "I'm wiped out today," he told himself. "I'll start Monday." He had started Monday about 300 times. Part of Daniel's job was offboarding. When somebody quit, he ran the exit interview, collected the badge, and mailed out the insurance paperwork. One Tuesday, it was a woman from accounts payable. She was leaving to run her own bookkeeping business out of her house. She could not stop smiling. "That's amazing," Daniel said, and shook her hand at the elevator. "Good luck." Then he walked back to his cubicle and sat very still for a long time. He was 30 years old, and his entire job was processing other people's freedom papers. On the night of his 30th birthday, Daniel picked up a grocery store cake on the way home and ate half of it in front of the television. At 8:41 p.m., his phone rang. It was his father, calling from the small town 2 hours east where Daniel grew up. "Son, I hate to ask you this." A long pause. "Your mom's eyes have gotten a lot worse. Doctor says it's cataracts. Both of them. He says if we do the surgery now, she'll see fine. If we keep waiting, he can't promise me anything." Daniel's mouth went dry. "What about her insurance?" "She's 62. 3 more years till Medicare. The plan we could afford has a $9,000 deductible, so it's all out of pocket." His father's voice went quiet, the way it did when he was ashamed. "It's $4,000 for both eyes. I've got about $600. Daniel opened his banking app. His hand was shaking, and he watched it shake like it belonged to somebody else. Available balance, $186. 6 years of full-time work. 6 years of showing up early, staying late, never missing a deadline, never once calling in sick. $186. "Dad," he said, and he heard his own voice go smooth and easy, the way it did in interviews. "Don't worry about it. I've got it in savings. I'll wire it in the morning." He hung up and downloaded a personal loan app, 34.99% APR. He signed with his thumb at 8:57 p.m. The app approved $1,500, not $4,000, $1,500. In the morning he sent it, and told his father the rest would come next month, a promise he had absolutely no way of keeping. The surgery would have to wait. That night, Daniel sat down on the floor of his bathroom with the shower running so his neighbors wouldn't hear him. He thought about the man he'd described in that morning's job posting, a driven professional with a growth mindset. He'd written it about a stranger. He'd been describing nobody at all. And then a thought arrived that he could never unthink. The call came at 8:41 p.m. At 8:41 p.m., every night for 6 years, Daniel had been on that couch, scrolling. That hour had never once been busy. It had never once been taken from him by a boss, a meeting, or a deadline. He hadn't been too busy to build a life. He had been giving that time away, for free, one night at a time. At 2 a.m., he wrote one sentence in the Notes app on his phone. "The problem is not my job. The problem is what I do after it." Then he messaged the only person he knew who had gotten out. Marcus Reyes had been Daniel's department head, 3 years and 1 2 weeks notice ago. Daniel had personally processed that paperwork. Today, Reyes ran a small HR consulting firm with 4 employees and clients in 3 states. He agreed to meet, but he picked the time, 8:30 p.m., at a coffee shop near campus that stayed open until midnight. When Daniel walked in, he stopped in the doorway. Every other table had somebody working. A woman color grading video on a laptop. 2 guys arguing over a spreadsheet. A DoorDash driver in a puffer jacket with a real estate licensing book open between runs. "Who are all these people?" Daniel asked. Reyes smiled. "The second shift. You've lived in this city 6 years and never once seen it, because at this hour, you're on your couch." Daniel told him everything. The salary, the loan, his mother's eyes. "I work 10 hours a day," he finished. "I'm not lazy." "So why am I broke?" Reyes put his cup down. "I'm going to ask you one question, and I want the honest answer. Yesterday, between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m., what did you do?" Daniel opened his mouth, closed it, watched videos, some short clips, then I slept. "And the day before?" "The same. And you told yourself you were too tired." "I was tired." "No," Reyes said. "Tired is what your body feels after physical work. What you feel is something else. You're not exhausted, Daniel. You're defeated. Those are different, and you've been treating one with the medicine for the other. He leaned in. Listen carefully, because this is the whole thing. Your 8 office hours are the shift you work for your employer. They pay your rent. They will never make you free. Because the moment you stop, they stop. Everybody in this room figured out the same thing you're about to. The second shift is the only one that pays you. But those hours are mine to rest, Daniel said. I've already given everything at work. That's exactly the sentence that keeps a man at $52,000 a year for a decade. Reyes's voice went flat and kind at once. You give your sharpest energy to someone else's company and hand your own future the scraps, the tired, numb, half-dead version of you. Then you're surprised your future looks tired and numb. Reyes turned over a paper napkin and wrote, 90 minutes times 6 nights equals 9 hours a week. 9 hours times 52 weeks equals 468 hours a year. 468 hours, 8, equals 58 and a half full working days. He slid it across the table. Do you understand what that is? That's almost 3 extra months of full-time work every single year, and it's the only time in your life nobody has to give you permission to use. You've thrown away 6 of those. That's a year and a half of full-time work gone into a screen. 468 focused hours a year will put you in the top 10% of almost any practical skill on earth. Not talent, not luck, attendance. Give me 8 o'clock to 9:30 p.m., 6 nights a week, 180 nights. Count them. He pushed a $3 kitchen timer across the table. Wind this at 8 o'clock. When it rings, you stop, even if it's going well. And Daniel, if you quit in week 3, don't message me again. I've mentored 11 people, 9 quit. I only have room for the ones who show up. The system Reyes gave him had 3 rules, and they fit on the back of the napkin. Rule 1, the sealed room. At 8 p.m., the phone goes on airplane mode and into a drawer in another room, not face down, not on silent, out of reach. 90 minutes, with no notifications, no messages, no feed. Rule 2, the 45-45 split. 8 o'clock, 8:45. Learn 1 income skill. 1, not 5. Daniel chose copywriting and basic Facebook and Google ad management because in 6 years of hiring, he'd read 400 resumes from small business owners who could not write 1 sentence that sold anything. Free tutorials on YouTube, a free Columbus Library card, $0 spent. 8:45, 9:30. Ship something a stranger can see. No passive watching. Every night ended with an artifact, a rewritten ad, a sample sales page, an email sent to a real business. Rule 3, protect the fuel. A light dinner, not a heavy one. No news, no feeds after 6 p.m. You can't do focused work on a full stomach and a flooded brain. The first 3 weeks were brutal, and not in the way he expected. At 8 p.m., his brain didn't get sleepy, it got loud. You worked all day, you've earned this. 1 episode, start Monday. His hand would drift toward the drawer in the other room, like it had its own opinion. 2 things kept him in that chair: a loan app charging him 34.99%, and a woman in a small Ohio town who couldn't read the numbers on her own phone anymore. He wrote 30 sample ads nobody asked for. He cold emailed 41 local businesses. He got 9 replies, and 8 of them were no. The 9th came from a boutique in a strip mall a mile from his apartment, a place he had driven past for 6 years without once looking at it. They paid him $350 to rewrite their product pages and run 1 week of ads. $350 is not freedom, but Daniel sat looking at that deposit notification for a long time because it proved something 6 years of pay stubs never had. He could create money without waiting for anyone to grant it to him. Then he lost a client. The owner of a barbecue joint told him the work was fine, just not what we're looking for, and every old voice came rushing back. He skipped 4 nights: couch, phone, midnight. On the 5th night, he messaged Reyes, "Maybe I'm just not built for this." Reyes replied, "In 90 seconds, 9 out of 11 quit right here. Not at the start, at the first rejection. The timer doesn't care how you feel. Wind it." Daniel wound the timer. Something changed that he hadn't been trying to change. One evening he came home, ate, and sat down at his desk, and then noticed the clock said 7:52 p.m. He'd sat down 8 minutes before the timer. Nobody had made him. A week later, the alarm rang at 9:30, and he didn't hear it for 11 minutes. The war was over. The habit had moved into his body. By the end of month 3, he had 3 regular clients and was earning $1,900 a month from the second shift. On night 174 of 180, 6 nights before the deadline, a furniture retailer with 4 stores across central Ohio, who'd seen his work through a referral, signed him to a 6-month retainer. $4,800 a month. That night, for the first time in his life, Daniel's evenings out-earned his career. He messaged Reyes one line, "Night 174. It happened." Reyes wrote back, "Right on schedule." It always lands just before the deadline, because the deadline is what keeps you in the chair long enough for it to land. 7 months after that phone call, Daniel drove out to the small town 2 hours east, picked up his mother, and brought her to a surgical center in Columbus. He paid all $4,000 up front and cleared the $34.99% loan the same week. No lie about a savings account, no promise he couldn't keep. When they took the patches off, his mother sat up slowly and looked at him for a long moment. The first time in almost 2 years, she had seen her son's face clearly. Then she looked down and took his hands, the same hands that had typed every night from 8 o'clock to 9:30, while the rest of the city watched television. "You look tired," she said. Daniel laughed, and his eyes went hot. "I've never been better in my life, Mom." 14 months after that birthday, Daniel walked into his director's office and set down his 2 weeks' notice. He had processed hundreds of those letters. This was the first one he had ever written. He didn't quit on a feeling. He quit on arithmetic. His night business was billing $14,000 a month, more than 3 times what the job paid him, and it no longer needed the safety net. His debt was cleared. His mother could see, and the 90 minutes that used to belong to a glowing screen now belonged to him. His last stop before leaving the building was the 14th floor window at night. City lights, thousands of windows, and behind a few of them, people at desks at 8:30 p.m., the second shift. He could see it now. Here's what I want you to take from Daniel's story. The gap between the people who get free and the people who stay stuck is almost never the 8 hours of the workday. Those hours are the same for everyone, tiring, controlled, and priced by someone else. The gap is what happens after the sun goes down. You can keep spending your evenings rewarding yourself for being tired and wake up at 40 in the same cubicle, in the same chair, waiting on the same direct deposit. Or you can take back 90 minutes. Tonight. 1. Seal the room. At 8 p.m., phone on airplane mode. in a drawer, in a different room. 90 minutes, that's it. 2. Pick one skill, only one. Copywriting, design, video editing, bookkeeping, paid ads, coding. Choose the one your own workplace is always desperate to hire and can never find. Learn it 8 to 8:45. Then from 8:45 to 9:30, make something a stranger can actually look at. 3. Count to 180. 6 nights a week, 180 nights. Not because 180 is magic, because it's long enough that quitting stops being an option and the results arrive before the deadline does. Your boss owns your 8 hours. Nobody on this planet owns your 90 minutes. Poverty is what happens when you keep giving away the only hours you actually own. So here's my challenge, and it starts in a few hours, not on Monday. Tonight at 8 o'clock, wind the timer. Leave a comment right now and finish this sentence. Starting tonight, my 90 minutes go to. Write the skill, say it out loud in the comments, and come back in 30 days and tell us what night you're on. I read them, and so will the next person who needs to see that they're not doing this alone. Hit like if you're taking the challenge. It's a promise to yourself, not to me. And subscribe, because next week I'm breaking down exactly how to choose the one skill that will pay you fastest. Your future is not decided by your boss, your salary, or your luck. It's decided by what you do at 8 p.m. Tonight, the screen, or the timer.